Good evening, honored judges, visiting royalty, and assembled guests, and welcome to the 2021 Public Speaking Spectacular. My name is Sasha Reynolds, and I'm the current Miss White Rock and one of the MCs for the evening. We would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in the shared, unceded territory of the Semiahmoo, Katzie, Stolo, Wissanic, and Kwantlen First Nations, and the broader territory of the Coast Salish peoples. In light of the current pandemic, we have made many changes to our program to ensure that we are following provincial safety guidelines. As you can see, we are using Zoom tonight for our public speaking spectacular and have posted our candidate talents on our website and Instagram at WR Youth Ambassadors. On July 31st, we will be holding an in-person distanced gala for our 2021-2022 ambassador team, which will be broadcasted live for our virtual audience members. You can find our PDF program for tonight's Public Speaking Spectacular in the Zoom chat now. We encourage you all today to watch in speaker view and turn off non-video participants. You can select speaker view in the top right corner of your Zoom screen. And you can select turn off non-video participants by clicking the little arrow next to the video icon in the bottom left, then click into video settings and check the box titled non-video participants. You can find these same instructions in the Zoom chat now. We will now be turning off your cameras and microphones for the event so that we can better see and hear our MCs and candidates. The first public speaking event is both a thrill and a fright for candidates and ambassadors alike. For the candidates, this is their very first event and public introduction. For us current royalty, it is a relief to finally not be the ones being judged. We are very fortunate to have a panel of judges with us today on Zoom. With us are Alexandra Severin, who has been with the BC Lions Football Club for the last 17 years as the dance team manager. She also runs her very own successful staffing agency, Voltage Entertainment, for the past 20 years. She recently co-purchased White Rock Spiral Dance, where she has taught ballet for 13 years. Alexandra also has years of experience mentoring youth in her role with the football club and dance studio. Next, we have Michelle Partridge, who is an award-winning business owner, public speaker, acting coach, and arts and culture advocate. She has coached hundreds of actors over her 25 years of teaching and has also helped many business professionals with her communication skills. Michelle has recently been nominated by the South Surrey White Rock Chamber of Commerce as Business Leader of the Year, Self-Owned. Next is Shariah Poulin, who has a passion for fitness and health. She currently owns and operates her own personal training business online and is adding mortgage broker to her skill set as she assists her husband in his real estate business. She enjoys cooking, traveling, and hiking with her husband and her pup Cowboy in her spare time. Next, we have Dr. Sunpreet Bains, who had the honor of being crowned Miss White Rock in 2003 and a British Columbia ambassador in 2004. She is also a top 25 under 25 award winner and has been honored as a YWCA Young Woman of Distinction. Sunpreet completed her Bachelor of Science in Biological Sciences at FSU and has continued on to obtain her doctorate in dental medicine at UBC. Finally, we have Donna Beaudry, our head judge, who has been involved with the WRYA program for over 45 years. Working with young people over the years has been a source of passion and joy for Donna. Donna was awarded the Queen's Diamond Jubilee in 2012 for her years of volunteer service with the WRYA. Operating West Beach Pilates on Marine Drive keeps Donna busy these days. We want to thank all of our judges for attending today's event. We would also like to thank the Sam Steele ambassadors, Peach ambassadors, Cowichan, and West Kelowna ambassadors for joining us this afternoon. Your support is greatly appreciated.
Hello, my name is Ella Ramsey and I am a current White Rock Princess. I will also be one of your MCs. Our public speaking night is an important part of the candidate's journey throughout the program. This afternoon, you will be hearing speeches written and presented by the candidates on topics they chose themselves. After they have presented, we will ask them each a unique impromptu question. During their first few months of candidacy, the girls have also already completed a community essay, White Rock history exam, talent showcase, and multiple online training sessions. Towards the beginning of the candidacy, we sent out our annual candidate questionnaire. Responses from those questionnaires will be shared this evening so that we can all get to know each candidate a little bit more. One of the questions we posed on this year's questionnaire was, choose any fictional character you think would win Miss White Rock. The answers we received for our candidates to this question were very entertaining, and we wanted to share them all with you tonight, as well as put it to a vote. Right now, you should all see a poll appear on your screen asking you the same question and giving you all the fictional character responses that each candidate picked to choose from. So please vote now on who you think is the best fictional character out of this list to win the title of Fictional Miss White Rock 2021. The winner will be revealed at the end of the night. Without further ado, let's get started.
Good afternoon. My name is Sophie Reynolds. I am a current White Rock Princess and Friendship Ambassador. I, too, will be one of your MCs. The first to present her speech is Emily Chen. Emily has a passion for debate, and in 2020, she was able to take on leadership roles in her school's debate club, acting as a coach to share her passion with others. She hopes to take these skills that she has developed and pursue a law degree in the United Kingdom. Emily isn't only defined by her academics. Outside of that, she hopes that people can get to know her and her personality better. An example of this is, when asked what she would do if the apocalypse happened right now, her response was, I would probably go to the sea and have a nice swim to enjoy my last moments. Without further ado, here is Emily and her speech entitled, Is Ignorance Really Bliss?
You are ignorant. Now, how many people felt personally attacked or very offended by that? Because I know I would be, and I'm sure that I'm not alone. Most people do not like being called ignorant because in our heads, the adjective ignorant is seen as an insult and generally a bad word to be associated with. But what does ignorance really mean? Ignorance simply refers to the lack of knowledge or information. In other words, it just means when you don't know something. And what do our teachers always say? It is okay to not know as long as you ask questions. Honorable judges, youth ambassadors, fellow candidates, and welcome guests. Today, I'll be talking about how ignorance is a part of human nature and whether ignorance is really bliss. As I mentioned before, ignorance isn't bad. It's simply saying and admitting that I don't know, and that is completely normal. I don't know about you, but the first thing that comes to my mind when I hear the word ignorance is the proverb, ignorance is bliss. Ask yourself this question, is ignorance really bliss? How many of you have ever been in a situation where you were trying to talk or communicate with a friend, but felt like they did not care about what you had to say, or even had a frustrated response to your perfectly normal question? Well, I have certainly experienced that before, and I simply thought that they were being a bad friend because they didn't want to listen to what I had to say or what I was going through. I was enclosed in my own world and my problems, and that is normal because we only experience our life, and to us, that is our entire world. I was quick to jump to conclusions to say that they were a bad friend, but upon communicating and me asking questions, I realized that she had something very serious going on with her own family, and she too was simply trapped in her own world. Although we may consider ourselves extremely close to our friends, we have no idea what their lives are like and what problems they may be facing. This is knowledge we don't know. In other words, this is an area where I'm ignorant on. And therefore, maybe we should stop jumping to conclusions and give other people around us the benefit of the doubt. Understand that not everything involves you. Their attitude may not be directed at you, and save yourself from overthinking the situation. Me jumping to conclusions not only was unfair to my friend who had her own issues, but also made me unhappy because I thought she had something against me. For me, realizing my ignorance was the first step for me on becoming a more empathetic and happy person. Remember that you can never stop being ignorant because our knowledge will be always limited through our experiences and our education. But you can recognize your ignorance, ask questions, give others the benefit of the doubt, and be a happier person. I want to actively encourage all of you to not only understand that ignorance is a part of human nature, but also learn to acknowledge others' experiences. Look beyond your own world. Give others the benefit of the doubt, and this can all be done by asking questions. And that empathy is the true secret to happiness. Welcome, guests.
Thank you, Emily. Hello, everyone. My name is Karina Zhao, and I am the current Principal Ambassador. Now that we have heard Emily's speech, it is time for her impromptu question. This is the first time she will be hearing this question. Emily, I will read the question to you twice. We have heard a lot about your passion for debate. What is your favorite aspect of debate? What has been the most important thing that you have learned from it? Again, we have heard a lot about your passion for debate. What is your favorite aspect of debate? And what has been the most important thing you have learned from it?
Thank you, Karina, for that question. So personally, I feel like my favorite thing about debate is that it provides a platform for people with different opinions to come together and civilly discuss the differences in their opinions and find similarities through that. And I think this is honestly a really great way because in debate, you touch upon a lot of different issues ranging from social justice to politics to international relations to things regarding the environment. And these are all very important things that we should be having active discussions on. And I think debate really provides that platform in which you get to have that kind of discussion without the hostility that may usually be involved when you're talking to someone who might have a different point of view. And I think similarly to that, my most valuable lesson I learned from debate is also how to communicate with others who might have a different opinion than you. And I think that's a really important skill because obviously not everyone you meet in life is going to have the same opinion as you. And I think it's really valuable to actually listen to the other side of the story and to hear from someone who might not have the same opinion. And sometimes you can surprise yourself by even changing your own opinion when you hear reason within other people. I think most importantly, debate is a platform where not only young people can share about their beliefs, they can also civilly listen to others and without getting too heated and too angry at each other like you would in a more casual environment because of the structure that debate offers. So I really think it's a great activity. I would highly recommend for anyone to try it out. Yeah.
Thank you, Emily. Hello, everyone. My name is Mariana Cardenas Sepulveda, and I am one of this year's ambassadors. Next to present her speech is Adiba Chowdhury. Adiba has a passion for learning and growing. When asked what they wish more people knew about them, they said that they wish more people knew how willing they are to improve. She really wants to be the best person she can be, even though she knows it will take her a little bit to get there. They're always willing to improve and take constructive criticism no matter what. Adiba also loves books. When asked what made her smile no matter what, she said that a well-written murder mystery can always do the trick. Despite any fear they may experience, if it is a satisfying book, they will definitely be smiling by the end of it. Without further ado, here's Adiba and their speech entitled The Confessions of a Burnt-Out Performer.
When I lived in Toronto, I met Lawrence Fishburne, one of my favorite childhood actors. I saw him at an art store and my brother approached him for a photo. Mr. Fishburne was awfully kind, and I repaid that kindness by running away from him. In my defense, I was 7 years old and incredibly anxious, and not much has changed since then, but now my first step in acknowledging my problems isn't running away from them. That's usually my third step. Either way, after 15 minutes of my brother chasing me down aisles of paints and canvases, Mr. Fishburne told my brother that it's fine that I was feeling a bit nervous, but he hopes that he can get a photo with me one day. When he left, I realized I messed up. That is the first clear memory of when I said, I hate myself. Honorable judges, youth ambassadors, fellow candidates, and welcome guests. I'm here to tell you about a stigma that took control of me and made me into a performer. The only statement I have stuck with is, I hate myself, which says a lot considering how indecisive I am. In fact, I went back and forth on 7 speech topics, and this wasn't even one of the 7, so you can get a sense of how bad I am at sticking to my decisions. Much like Mr. Fishburne himself, I became an actor. The scariest part about being a performer wasn't lying to everyone's faces and saying I'm fine, or not getting out of bed for days at a time because I was tired. The scariest part was that I was only performing because I feared the stigma surrounding me. The shame, the embarrassment, or the disapproving look on a friend's face. Breaking down that stigma would have been the breakthrough that I needed, but I just didn't get. Think about it this way. Would you rather post an Instagram story or upload a Facebook status saying that you can't get out of bed because you broke your leg or because you mentally can't bring yourself to? Depression is one of the most documented problems in the world, and it is the least discussed. We put it in a corner for a timeout as if it will learn what it did wrong and fix it itself, when spoiler alert, it won't. If you think that true weakness means that you're acting all the time, then I'm here to tell you you're wrong. You're wrong because it's the opposite. We need to be real and accepting of others and ourselves. And a step to doing that is to start here. It has to start with me, with you, with the people who are suffering and performing for their big movie called life. We need to step out of our roles and start being real and accepting of others and ourselves. Now, I'm not encouraging all performers to retire. I think Hollywood probably has real life assassins that would come after me if I said that. Hell, even Mr. Fishburne himself probably would just stop my speech right now. What I'm saying is that I have always loved movies, theater, and Mr. Fishburne, who I met in the art store so long ago. One day, I hope to see him again so I can finally get that long awaited photo with him. But until then, I promise you all that I won't be saying the mantra of self-hatred that started it all. My confession is, I finally realized that I am the director and the main lead of my life. I am calling the shots. So this is me breaking character, looking at an audience of stigma, spiffing up my suit a bit, dropping my mic, and walking off stage. Well, not as cool as that, but it definitely feels empowering, and most importantly, it feels real. Assembled guests.
Thank you, Adiba. Hello, everyone. My name is Maria Elena Mishenko, and I'm one of this year's ambassadors. Now that we have heard Adiba's speech, it is time for her impromptu question. This is the first time she will be hearing this question. Adiba, I will read the question to you twice. Your question is, we know that you have an interest in creative writing. What drew you to creative writing, and what do you enjoy most about this method of expression? Again, your question is, we know that you have an interest in creative writing. What drew you to creative writing, and what do you find most enjoyable in this method of expression?
Thank you, Maria, for your question. Adiba is an Arabic name, which means authoress. So quite literally, my mom named me author, which fits well because her name means poem. I grew up in a family full of creative people, and we have always found ways to express our creativity. My family, my mom and my brother specifically, are more inclined towards art, towards painting, towards drawing, any form of actual, like using your pencil, any media, that's what they're more inclined to. Unfortunately, I'm a horrible drawer. So when my mom and my brother found out that I wasn't as great of a painter, they tried to find other ways to hone my creativity. The first poem I ever wrote was a poem about biting a peach. And I think that poem, I still remember it quite clearly, and my family does too. It was my first step into creative writing. I learned creative writing, specifically poetry, through school, and I found it was a great way to express all my thoughts and express any emotion and feelings that I felt. And I honestly recommend it for anyone. It was a great way for me to get through my bad mental health state because I felt that writing poetry, writing down my thoughts were an escape. They were a way to find light in a very dark tunnel. My favorite part about this expressive nature is that it's just it's just so fun. Like it's simply like that. It's so amazing and like it's just bringing a smile to my face, as you can tell. And I'm just like staring at my notebooks right now, just remembering all the poems, all the stories that I wrote, and all of them, even if some of them are quite bad. I can't wait to improve them. I can't wait to go back to writing them. I can't wait to be more creative. And I feel like creativity is something that you can always improve on. There's no big range, there's no top of it, there's no top of the hill where you're like, you stop right there. You can just keep going and keep going and keep going. And one day I hope to keep going and keep going and keep going and really bring that meaning of my name to life.
Thank you, Adiba. Hello, everyone. My name is Emily Tepper, and I am one of this year's ambassadors. Next up, present their speech is Enoch Wong. Enoch has a vast range of interests. One of those is their passion and skill for film. In 2020, Enoch's film won an award at a film festival. Another one of Enoch's interests is Latin. They have been studying since grade 5 and were inspired by their love of ancient Rome. Another one of Enoch's interests is law. They are hoping to pursue a law degree and maybe even get a job in law or a law-related job field. It is Enoch's dedication and drive that allows them to find success in their passions. Our final fun fact about Enoch is that their favorite takeout food is fried chicken, because fried chicken can make any day better. Without further ado, here's Enoch and their speech entitled, "This User is Offline."
A user who is raised around media and technology has never known anything aside from the power it holds. So they begin to lose touch with reality and live in a world full of illusions. By this, I mean specifically endless chattering in the skull, a tiny little bulb that only seems to grow more and more and more they take in of this media. I'm not saying that social media is bad, but just like everything else, it's useful in moderation. A good servant, but held down by a bad master. Slowly, they increasingly become more self-destructive because through this excessive consumption, they have lost touch with reality, confusing signs with the real world. This user is me. Honorable judges, youth ambassadors, fellow candidates, and welcome guests. By show of hands, can I please ask who here has never had a social media profile? Well, I can't really see all of you, but I'm sure not many of you have your hands up, since you've probably at one point have had a social media profile. In fact, it's probably how you even found out about this speech night. And many aspects are now tied to it. Most internet communications, interactions, public and private exchanges, and so on, all happen through the internet. And I'm sure many of you have heard the expression, or at least a variation of it. If it's not on social media, did it really happen? Well, there's a special hold it has on the young people. It becomes a fixation, a compulsion, and I myself find myself not being able to let go of my phone, even when I'm busy with other things, even when I should be studying or be sleeping, I still find myself unable to let go. Scrolling through endless content, I see posts from people who I know are with friends or are on vacation. And at times it just feels like I'm the only one who's trapped in a digital realm consuming their content, while everyone else is out there living in the real world and creating it. And honestly, these days, knowing more about other people's lives and having insight into their private moments seems to make me more miserable. Is the blue on my face from my own emotions or the fluorescent blue of my phone spilling out to me? As time goes by, it gets harder for me to detach from social media. And these apps are designed to keep us hooked, made so that its users come to scroll through posts and check what's new multiple times a day, to follow new profiles and to create new interests. And honestly, I didn't know I was interested in interior design or playing Dungeons and Dragons until one day I went down in an Alice in Wonderland themed rabbit hole of hashtags on Instagram. This is where the asymmetry hits. While the internet keeps me interested in finding new hobbies and learning more about myself, it is also what keeps me thinking I can never measure up to the idea of constantly comparing myself to others. There will always be someone whose life is more interesting and pursuits are more Instagrammable and exciting than mine will ever be. And at first, I thought it was great to have access to all of this information and insights from as many different people as possible, all at the tip of our fingers. But it has gradually grown to become a major distraction in life, even a nuisance, because sometimes I'm not sure where the line between online and offline lives. But I believe a shift in thinking is possible. For example, knowing and reminding ourselves that what we see online and what we compare ourselves to are selected little snippets of our lives that show us in our best lights. It's important to start depicting the world, our worlds, and those around us as it is, unfiltered and unedited. It's important that we welcome and celebrate imperfections and individuality, and maybe it might even be your time to try going offline. Welcome, guests.
Thank you, Enoch. My name is Kai Patel, and I am one of this year's ambassadors. Now that we have heard Enoch's speech, it is time for their impromptu question. This is the first time they will be hearing this question. Enoch, I will read the question to you twice. We know that you have been involved in many aspects of film and filmmaking. What role has been your favorite? What have been some of the challenges you have faced when working on a film? Again, we know you have been involved in many aspects of film and filmmaking. What role has been your favorite? What have been some of the challenges you have faced when working on a film?
First of all, thank you, Kaya, for that wonderful question. So, obviously, having been involved in film for such a long time of my life, I've done quite a number of roles, ranging from acting to directing to also doing like stage costume and backdrop work. And all of these stuff are such great roles to have. And each of them offer specific insight and specific roles that need specific requirements. And all of them have helped shape me today to be the person who I am. However, the one role that I would say that I enjoy doing the most is obviously acting. For me, what really got me into the film industry and creating films in the first place and becoming an actor is when I was in high school, somehow my friend decided to ask me if I wanted to be an actor in one of her short films. I said yes out of the whim, and somehow I fell in love with it. Acting has now become a huge part of my life, now ranging from my abilities that have helped shape me to do public speaking and do impromptu speaking as I am doing right now. However, I would say the most challenging part in film would be when I do directing work or when I'm in the background scene of the film industry. Instead of actually doing the acting work, I now have to work alongside other people and make sure that I'm communicating my ideas to them properly. When I first joined the film industry, was incredibly hard for me to adjust since I was always more reserved to myself and I wasn't a huge fan of talking to others. But now I've obviously adjusted more to it, and now I can confidently say Film has become a huge part of my life, and it has not only helped me shape who I am, but it has also helped me develop my interpersonal skills.
Thank you, Enoch. Next to present her speech is Leslie Kim. Leslie is passionate about spreading awareness on homelessness prevention. She hopes in the future she can start a nonprofit to educate people on the topic. Additionally, when asked what she would do as a city planner, she said her #1 priority would be to build several homeless shelters that provide unhoused individuals with food, warm clothing, and basic medical checkups. When asked what mythical creature she would be, Leslie said she would be a mermaid. Leslie has always loved watching and reading The Little Mermaid, and she has always wondered what it would be like to breathe underwater. Without further ado, here is Leslie and her speech entitled Unfamiliarity.
Have you ever been challenged by a word? You probably have back in elementary school when you were first introduced to the complex world of the French language. Take yourself back to that moment where you were puzzling over the unfamiliar words on the board and zoning out to your teacher, filling your head up with foreign sounds. Now imagine what it would be like to be learning 2 languages at once. Your teacher is explaining the French grammar using English when you don't even understand English in the first place. You would probably be very frustrated to the point where you're on the verge of giving up. This is exactly how it was like for me when I moved to Montreal, Quebec from South Korea. Honored judges, youth ambassadors, fellow candidates, and welcomed guests, come along with me for the next few minutes through a trip down my memory lane where you will get to meet my 8-year-old self struggling through culture and language barriers. Let me start off by giving you a little backstory first. At school in South Korea, I always dreaded English class because I found English so difficult. I couldn't even tell the difference between the lowercase letter B and the letter D, let alone memorize the whole alphabet. To think of it, I simply didn't try my best. Why should I when I was going to live my whole life in Korea and only speak Korean? Lo and behold, my life was flipped upside down when I sat down at the dinner table with my parents one evening. They broke the news that we'll be moving to Canada, and before I knew it, 6 months later, I arrived in Montreal. On the first day of school, I was greeted with eager smiles and hugs by my classmates. I immediately froze, not knowing what to do. Strangers have never hugged me before. I was even more surprised by the fact that they greeted our teacher with friendly waves. Didn't they know that it was rude to not bow and show respect to people older than them? Later, I would learn that this was all part of the culture. But sometimes when people walking past me on the street gave me a friendly smile and said bonjour or ça va, I would smile feebly back at them, but stop in my tracks to puzzle over their faces and wonder how I could possibly know them. Then I'd remember that this is all perfectly normal and go back to my day. But what took me the longest to get used to was English and French. For a while, the only sentence that I knew how to say was puis-je aller aux toilettes and may I go to the washroom. This was taught by my teacher when she got tired of seeing me point to the door every time I wanted to go. Except for the sentence and a couple of other short words, I didn't speak a single word at school simply because I didn't know how. However, as time passed, I began to pick up more of the languages until I became almost fluent. In Montreal, not only was I learning in the classroom, I was surrounded by its culture and the people who spoke the language. Through culture shock and language barriers, I experienced enormous personal growth as it taught me to trust my gut and survive during periods of unfamiliarity. Never in a million years would my 8-year-old self think that she'd be capable of giving a speech in English and in front of an audience. I know that if she could hear me right now, she would have a proud smile on her face. I encourage everyone listening today to put yourself in unfamiliar situations like these because I can definitely assure you that you will find a better version of yourself along the way. Assembled guests.
Thank you, Leslie. Now that we have heard Leslie's speech, it is time for her impromptu question. This is the first time that she will be hearing this question. Leslie, I will read the question to you twice. We have heard that you have a passion for helping the homeless population. What makes you so passionate about this issue? What can we do as a community to help? Again, we have heard that you have a passion for helping the homeless population. What makes you so passionate about this issue? What can we do as a community to help?
Thank you for the question, Sophie. Yeah, I am very passionate about the issue of homelessness because I believe that everyone has a basic right to have housing and to feel safe and protected in their home. I also believe that it is not the people who are experiencing homelessness, it's not their fault that they're homeless. It's the fault of the society as a whole because of the lack of affordable housing and the lack of homeless shelters. So as a community, I think that we can start with the small things instead of starting big. For example, we can be mindful when describing these individuals. For example, you can use the words unhoused individuals or individuals experiencing homelessness instead of saying homeless people or the homeless, because those last two terms have a negative stereotype around them, and it's a very broad umbrella term. I think as a community, we can also be a part of community organizations or initiatives. For example, one initiative that I was in was called a winter knitting club. So here we knit over Zoom, and we were able to knit scarves, hats, and blankets to send to unhoused individuals in Metro Vancouver. I think that being a part of the conversation and being proactive is the most important part of fighting this issue. And I hope you all have a part in the change.
Thank you, Leslie. Next to present her speech is Chelsea Liu. Chelsea said that her height may be intimidating to some people, but that she's a very welcoming person who would love to be your friend. Chelsea looks to her friends to find happiness and to make her smile. She's also super inspired by her friends. Chelsea described her favorite comfort food as mantou, a Chinese steamed bun which has a bread-like texture and a subtle sweet taste. The softness of the bun creates a comforting taste for her that reminds her of her childhood and culture. Without further ado, here is Chelsea and her speech entitled, "Procrastination is Not Your Friend."
Ever since elementary school, I've always had this friend. They love to have fun, and to be honest, it's the only reason why I hang out with them. But don't tell them that part. Every time I try to get work done at home, they would always intrude and ask to do something else. But no matter how hard I try to hold back, they somehow always manage to get me to give in to their plans. And I know what you might think right now. What are you thinking? They are not a very good friend, and this doesn't sound like a healthy friendship to be in. But don't worry. I've recently learned how to properly stand up for myself. And just to be clear, this person is not real. Meet my friend, procrastination. I know you probably can't see them right now, but they're always there, looming over me like an ominous shadow. I'm sure you've all have had some sort of unpleasant experience with this friend of yours that distracts you from being productive from time to time. But don't worry, I've got your back. Honorable judges, fellow youth ambassadors, and welcome guests. There will always be certain subjects at school where I didn't like them as much as others. Math, has never been one of my strong suits. But we should all agree that math is only slightly more tolerable when you know what you're doing. And to learn it, you must practice. Sounds familiar? But sometimes just the slightest bit of motivation to pick up a pencil to solve some equations may be extremely challenging for some people like myself. Where do you even start? Well, the solution is as easy as the variable x is equal to 1. Everyone has different coping strategies to help them deal with the stress of not wanting to start something you don't know how to do. And what works for others might not work for you. I always like to be consistent and find a time of day when I feel most focused, which would be 8 p.m. Something about the peaceful night sky just calms me down. And some people like using their short bursts of energy to complete work. For example, studying for 15 minutes and then resting for 5. Personally, that's just not my style. I like to charge my phone when I'm studying so there's no urge to check it. And I always have all my social media notifications off so I don't get unnecessary disturbances. You can't get distracted if your phone doesn't light up every 5 minutes. And once you get into the zone, you won't realize that it's 2 a.m. Not only that, but always make sure that you pay attention to what motivates you. It could be listening to your favorite songs or snacking on some fruits, which could all be done during studying time depending on how well you can focus. Make it as enjoyable as you can while still getting work done. It is important to take short breaks in between. Try not to overwork yourself. The feeling of not wanting to complete work that you know you have to complete is a common feeling that everyone deals with. It is definitely one way to tell that you are in fact human. So the next time your friend procrastination with no bad intentions at all comes knocking at your front door asking you to hang out, you can confidently say to them that you have now replaced them with an even better friend, math. Assembled guests.
Thank you, Chelsea. Now that we have heard Chelsea's speech, it is time for her impromptu question. This is the first time she will be hearing this question. Chelsea, I will read to you the question twice. We have seen that you have you create amazing art masterpieces. What is your favorite art medium and why is it important to you? Again, we have seen you create amazing art masterpieces. What is your favorite art medium and why is art important to you?
Thank you, Mariana, for the question. I started art when I was 4 years old. And I remember when my mom seated me down at the art class, before the teacher could even start explaining the lesson, I already ripped my paper up into shreds. I was sort of a child who loved to jump around and play. So art was not my thing. But after years and years of learning, it sort of grew on me. My favorite medium of art is quite hard to choose. I've done a lot of things like digital arts, pencil sketches, using markers, acrylics, watercolor, you name it. But my favorite one would have to be acrylics. I remember a couple months ago, back in February, I have never touched acrylics in my entire life. Looking at mixing the colors and the brushstrokes and how detailed a work could be intimidated me. And I remember when I first started acrylics, it was rough. But after a couple months of practicing, I think I got the hang of it. Why is art so important to me? I feel like art is a language that you can use to express feelings that maybe can't put into words properly. The colors and how they're shaped all have meaning, and they all have a story behind it and why they're there. And so art has always been a big part of how I self-express through my emotions and such.
Thank you, Chelsea. Unfortunately, one of our candidates, Minsu Oh, could not attend our public speaking spectacular tonight, but we thought we would still introduce her so you can get a glimpse at the amazing person she is. Minsu has a passion for learning and hopes to pursue a further education in engineering and one day get a job in it. She also hopes to be able to travel and learn from different cultures all around the world. Minsu also seeks learning in other aspects of her life. She is a trained lifeguard and hopes to help others learn from her training. When asked what she would do if she was a city planner in White Rock, Minsu said that she would create or find more ways to promote White Rock while being able to bring out some more unique aspects of this city. Though she is not here this evening, she will still be completing all aspects of the program that she has to miss. We are so excited to have her as a member of our team representing White Rock.
Our final candidate to present her speech is Anna Yu. Anna's goal is to live a happy life, and she exhibits this through many aspects of her personality. She said that her favorite comfort food is instant ramen. She said that when she thinks of something comforting, she thinks of a hug, and hugs usually happen in an instant. In her opinion, hugs should not take forever to receive, and comfort food should be the same way. The final thing that we should know about Anna is her extreme dislike of celery. When asked about it, she says that she absolutely hates it and is her most disliked vegetable. She wishes that everyone knew how much she hates celery so that she's never offered it. So keep that in mind the next time you're sharing a meal with Anna. Without further ado, here's her speech, The Correct Way to Express Love.
When was the last time someone ever told you they loved you? When was the last time you told someone you loved them? Personally, my answer would be I've never to both questions. I remember my first day of kindergarten like a movie in 4K resolution. My fellow classmates and I lined up single file outside the classroom, eager and excited for our first days of school, like little soldiers going to battle. As we entered, parents waved goodbye to their children, kissing them on the forehead, chin, cheeks, lips, all over the face, and hugged them so dearly, as if we were actually about to go into battle. My mother stood further away from the crowd of proud parents. From afar, she mouthed the words, "Study hard" in Mandarin, and walked away. As I slowly watched her back disappear further away in the limelight of a warm September day, I thought to myself, wow, my mom definitely hates me, and turned my head immediately to walk into class. Honorable judges, youth ambassadors, fellow candidates, and welcome guests. Today I will be helping you find what truly is the correct way to express love. The way a person chooses to express love is often referred to as a love language. From a young age, the idea of love is conceptualized under our noses, resulting to a narrow idea of what love languages really are. The fairy tales adored so much by children depict glamorous and dazzling stories of love, where the strong prince saves the princess who has been enslaved by a fire-breathing dragon, or all of the ones where the poor princess finds herself under a bewitching spell that could only be broken by true love's first kiss. From a young age, we learned that 1, someone loves you when they say, "I love you" to your face, or 2, they save your life from endless slumber because they merely placed their lips on yours while you were unconscious. Love languages have been constricted and conceptualized our entire lives. More time is spent panicking about whether someone truly loves you, rather than looking for all the different ways someone is just trying to express their appreciation. Unlike my innocent, pure kindergarten days, I now have obtained the secretive, correct way to express love, and I understand just how those around me love me. My mother does not like it when I hug her. She loves her own personal space, and she likes to be alone. She rarely acknowledges me for my accomplishments, but she is always the first one to scold me when I have done something wrong. But I know more than anyone how much she cares for me. When I am staying up till 2 in the morning studying for my final exams, my mother makes some excuse to stay late because she knows how easily I feel lonely. She is always there to scold me when I have done something wrong because she wants me to become a better person, and she is always there for a hug when I feel down. I understand all the ways my mom expresses her love to not only me, but to everyone in my family. And it's because I understand her different love languages that I never had to think the way I did in kindergarten ever again. Understanding love languages comes easily when love cannot be portrayed in a certain way. Instead of true love's first kiss, what about the princess wakes up because she just knows deep down how much the prince loves her? As I replay the movie of my first day of kindergarten, I realize that I missed something. A few seconds after my mother's back nearly fades off the screen, she turns back one last time to watch her daughter walk into class and smiles. Assembled guests.
Thank you, Anna. Now that we have heard Anna's speech, it is time for her impromptu question. This is the first time she'll be hearing this question. Anna, I will read the question to you twice. We hear you have a passion for volunteering in your school's community. What has been your favorite volunteer experience? And what advice would you give to someone who is interested in getting more involved in the school? Again, we hear you have a passion for volunteering in your school's community. What has been your favorite volunteer experience? And what advice would you give to somebody who is interested in getting more involved in their school?
Thank you so much, Emily, for that question. You're absolutely right. Ever since I was little, I've always had a passion for helping people. I think this started a lot with my sister, as she is a lot older than me, and she started volunteering for her high school a lot when I was a really young age, when I was really young. So I would always witness how she was inspired by so many of the things that she would do for my community. So I vowed to myself that when I was in high school, I would do the same. In high school, I joined a lot of different clubs, such as student council and globalizers that work on community issues as well as school issues, and I'm really glad to be a part of it. But outside of school, I have also done volunteer experiences such as tutoring, animal shelters, senior homes, and a lot more. And I'm always hoping to expand my range by participating in many more activities that I'm not familiar with. And because of that, my one biggest experience that I think I learned the most from was my experience at the animal shelter. I volunteer at a rabbit shelter every Wednesday, and it was definitely the experience I had to step out of my comfort zone the most. Opening the rabbit shelter and having the waft of smell of the rabbits playing around was definitely not something that was easy for me, and definitely something that I wasn't used to, as I've really never had pets before. And cleaning after them was certainly a task that I felt super hard. And I remember after my first day, I came home and immediately bolted into the shower to get rid of the stench. And I was so tired, even though I was just there for an hour. But it really opened my eyes to how much I have to step out of my comfort zone. Because after I did that volunteer experience for just 2 weeks and witnessing all the rabbits growing up and playing and getting adopted by new owners, it made me so happy that I accepted that experience, and the hardships of having to clean up after them was no longer existent.
That concludes today's event. Thank you so much to everyone who joined us on Zoom to watch. Before we go, we want to extend a huge thank you to our Toastmaster volunteers, Monica Neville and Bob Milliken, who have spent countless meetings teaching and coaching our candidates on the ins and outs of speech craft, speech presentation, and impromptu speaking. Your time and wisdom is greatly appreciated and a wonderful addition to our program. As for the talent portion of our candidacy, you are able to access the videos on our Instagram and website. In the chat now, you can see our Instagram link, which will lead you right to our account. And before we go, we don't want to leave you hanging any longer. It is now time to reveal the winner of our poll. A reminder, the question this evening was, choose any fictional character you think would win Miss White Rock. And decided by you, the fictional Miss White Rock is Regina George from Mean Girls. Now, we know that this has been a challenging time for many community organizations and other ambassador programs. However, all of us from the White Rock Youth Ambassadors have really come to appreciate that what opportunities distancing has provided for our online training. We have also loved seeing the unique and creative ways that our community has found to continue to get together and appreciate our beautiful city by the sea. Before we go, I would like to invite the visiting royalty to stay on the call and turn your cameras on so we can take some group photos, or rather group screenshots. And with that, we hope to see you all again at our 64th annual White Rock Youth Ambassadors Awards Gala on July 31st, which will be live and in person. Links to tickets can be found on our website. For those of you unable to join us in person, you can watch our live stream on Facebook. Thank you all for your support today, and we hope you have a fantastic rest of your evening.